Hey, welcome back to Through It All. I've been having some scheduling issues, mostly due to me. So I haven't released an episode in a couple weeks, which is unfortunate, but we're back and I'm very grateful to have Jonah Ogden on today. So I'm just gonna turn it over to him to introduce it and then get into his story. Thanks for being here,
Awesome.
dude.
Yeah, no, it's good to be here. Yeah, so I'm Jonah. Um, I it's kind of funny. I've technically been a member of the church my whole life. On my mission, when I told people, or when people would ask that question, I would usually say like a convert, just because for a long time I was inactive. But I would say I was raised in the influence of the church. 22 years old. Uh, Served my mission in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Had the absolute time of my life. It was incredible. Loved it out there. So right now I'm a student at Slick. I I'm just working towards my associates, and then I'll hopefully transfer to the U, potentially BYU if it really comes to that. But fingers crossed on the U.
Go
I'm
Utes.
studying linguistics. Oh, absolutely. Bleed red always. Um, I'm
Sorry to
studying
BYU
linguistics
fans.
and business analytics, and then potentially fictional writing as well if I can stick it out for that long.
Way cool. That's ambitious, dude. It's a lot of
Very,
different things, but it's sick.
very.
Okay, sick, dude. So you mentioned that you know, it was, as we've talked before, like it was kind of the mission was not in the cards for you. Like it wasn't something you were planning on doing. So like what kind of you said you were raised in the church, I know your family, obviously, they're awesome
Mhm.
people. So like what led to you to start maybe on the way out of the church?
Yeah. Yeah. There were a few things I'd say. Um, I think first and foremost, like you grow up in. I was a pretty prideful kid. Like what kind of high schooler isn't, you know? But I was probably up there. Uh, I think I struggled a lot with like I loved asking questions. I went to a private school, and it was science based, like STEM based, you know. And so you're taught to like ask questions. You're not really taught to seek out answers in the same way that religion or spirituality or your relationship with God would really want you to seek them out, if that makes any sense.
Like a science
And
first kind
so,
of thing.
right. And I would say since then, I've learned a lot about. I've actually done a ton of studies on how science connects to religion, and
For sure,
it's
for sure.
honestly there's more evidence suggesting it than well, I'd say there's just as much evidence suggesting it as there is isn't. Um, but I didn't believe that at the time, and so that was a huge factor, and I just didn't really want to seek those answers in the way that I had been like told, I guess, through religion, because it just didn't make sense to me.
Had you
Um,
like enjoyed going to church, or was like church like a harder thing for you? Like you just went because your family went.
I actually, my family was never really an influence in me going. Um, my mom has been inactive, yeah, for a very long time. Like she's not a member anymore. And my dad, he is very active, but he also believes very strongly that his kids should be the one to make their own decision, especially past the age of 16. Like that was really where we were just kind of thrown into the deep end, and he'd like hold us up if we needed help swimming for a second, but just for a second kind of thing, you know? And and so I never really had like a direct influence with my family to keep me going, and going was awful. um to be just like really blunt, I did not enjoy going at all. I remember especially in middle school and high school, um I grew up in this ward that was very exclusive, I'll say. And I lived in South Jordan for like my earlier years, and I was coming from a ward where we were very well accepted, like very happy. Um, and you go into this other ward where it's very, you're just a social outcast to them. And um, that's not to say, obviously, that everybody was like that, but it was definitely the general thing. Especially my family. I mean, you know this because we've taken you on trips with us, but um, I was raised very unorthodox, I'd say, and so we'd get a lot of judgment. My parents especially would get a lot of judgment with my mom not being active, and my dad would always go on these crazy adventures, and he'd bring us, and to us it's safe, like we were raised in it. I didn't know any different. It's
Yeah.
always been safe, but to these parents that have absolutely no idea, they're just like, um, and I guess for the podcast, like for the record, we would go on like river rafting trips, like canyoneering, rock climbing, rappelling. We're huge with that, and I love it
And
to
your
death.
dad's
It's
like
so fun.
literally an expert. Like he's an expert at it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I said, like I never really felt any danger.
Yeah.
Um,
Me neither.
and
Open.
right. But you to these other families, they're like, oh my gosh, like this guy is just dropping his children off a cliff,
Yeah.
and you're just like, wow, this is nuts. And so I think it was part of that. Um, like there were things like that, and I also didn't get along with my peers, and so we were really just pushed away. And there
It
were
made it
even like
hard to
these
go.
small little details, right? Where I remember, so my family, we like me, my dad, and my older sister, we used to do like 10-minute trades with back scratches in Sacrament. Um, and I remember my, I was probably dead asleep, actually. I don't remember this at all, but I remember hearing about it. And uh, my dad and my sister, they're doing the 10-minute trade, and it's the lady sitting behind us, like, slapped my sister's hand and is just like, you can't do that. And that's
Scratch
not
your
like
dad's
a
back.
big deal. I know, it's so weird.
Wow.
Um, so it's not like a major thing. That wasn't a very major thing, but it's still like you talk to these people and they preach social skills like it's doctrine.
Mm.
And they refuse to like acknowledge their own lack of like social skills because we're all lacking in something. And so um it was more just like I noticed that people were acting in a way that they told everybody else not to act, and it seemed very hypocritical to me, and it made it really easy for me to walk away.
So, I mean, at what age would you say that you would made the decision to walk away? 16 or
Yeah, yeah, it was probably about 16.
um so you're like 16 and you decide that I'm done. So like what did that look like for you?
So obviously, like, I stopped going. That's the big thing. I'd go every once in a while. Um, if I like, I don't know. I couldn't really give you like a reason why I went. Like I know there were specific things that would occasionally bring me back, but
But it
even
wasn't
in the
belief.
times when I was there, yeah. Even in the times I was there, it was more just like I'm just kind of there to waste time and wait for tomorrow to come, kind of thing.
So and
And
so I mean I do want to say like I think leaving the church and leaving God are different. Did you ever stop believing in God or want to leave God as well, or was it just you wanted to not be a member of the church anymore?
yeah, well, I was kind of stuck in between deciding whether or not I wanted to believe in God and whether or not I wanted to just be angry at him.
Mm.
Um, there's definitely a little bit of both, but I honestly like I've met so many people who are like agnostic or atheist, and they always seem to be caught in that same crosshair as well. Um, and like I guess a little bit more specifically, when I was inactive, I decided or I started hanging out with this friend group. None of them were members, and I love them all to death. They
Yeah.
helped me through so much. And we've just kind of grown distant over the years. I still keep in contact with one or two of them, but um, in high school and even after high school, they were everything to me because they accepted me for who I was, and it felt like even though God wasn't in the picture, I still had somebody to like look for, a reason to like keep going.
because of your friends.
And right, exactly. And they were, like I was saying earlier, they were definitely caught in those crosshairs sometimes too, where they couldn't really decide if they were angry at God or they just didn't believe in him.
So what I mean, not I mean that doesn't sound like a super comfortable or fun place to be. Like, was it just like a lot of anger every day? Like, were you happy at all? Like, what was life in the church? Which obviously you had some you had some negative experiences with that. Like, what was life outside of the church like? Like, had
Um,
you found like the joy that you were looking for once you, I guess, stopped going to church?
I wouldn't say exactly that. I think um and it's always hard to look at this in retrospect because it's all like emotional, right? But I think I definitely felt more comfortable outside of the church. And even today, like I'm a returned missionary, and there's still some days I'm just like, I just feel like out of place. And obviously, like perspectives change, and I'm happy like where I'm at because I know that the path that I'm on is helping me progress. But at the time when I was younger, I wasn't looking to grow or like change or better myself. I was just trying to find somebody who would accept me for like who I was, as I was. And that came with that friendship.
And that you didn't think you'd ever found in the church
No. At
to
least
that point,
not since I was like really
really
young,
little.
like
Hmm.
pre-moving. Yeah.
So I don't like want to jump ahead too far, but obviously you decided to go on a mission. So I mean,
Right.
between 16 and I'm guessing you were 19 when you went. Like what changed and how did God come back into your life to choose to give up 2 years of your life to serve Him?
Um
Like, that's got to be a
yeah,
pretty
no, that's
drastic change.
um yeah. It's kind of hard to bring that up. I got to bring up some details beforehand, so this might turn into a bit of a rant, but
Oh, great.
my so the friend group I was hanging out with, I was dating one of them for a really long time. Um Not a really long time, I shouldn't say that. It was like a few months. And um it was kind of around that time where I decided to start serving, and I remember she was just like, "What?" Because we had all these experiences like as a friend group. I remember like, and obviously like I was a dumb teenager. We're doing all those ridiculous things like we were drinking and stuff. I'm not gonna lie, I hated drinking. Even when I left the church, it wasn't like a moral thing for me. I hate the taste of like beer
Mhm.
and like whiskey. It just doesn't taste good. It never sits right with me. And I remember I never had a really bad hangover, but I woke up with a pretty bad headache one time, and I woke up at their apartment. Um, and I look over because I slept on what is it called? Those like the couches where the like comes out into a bed.
Yeah, yeah, like a
I look
yeah.
over and the bathroom's right next to me, and I see my friend holding up my other friend over the toilet, and they're just vomiting like all over the place. It was heinous. Or like this is a funny story. I went over to their house one or to that apartment one time. Um, and this I kind of got the nickname that of the chaperone because I stopped drinking by then, and so I walk into that apartment and they're all high on shrooms, which is probably really weird to say right now, but it's a really funny experience. I made sure they didn't go outside. They convinced me to go outside, and one of them got stuck in a swing for like 30 minutes, and I was like, if I have to call the fire department, I'm leaving you guys. I'm freaking out of
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Um, and so, um, but it was those experiences that I don't regret them. I still like look back on them very fondly because like they accepted me, you know? And so because of that, it was such a big surprise when I told the girl I was dating at the time and that whole friend group, like, oh, I'm going on a mission. Um, I'd say it was probably twice as much of a surprise to my parents and my sister, um, because a few months before I told them I was going on a mission, I told them I was going to remove my records from the church. And so, um, yeah, just like really kind of sudden, like spur of the moment type deal. Um,
So what, I mean, just before we get going, like why did you want to remove your records? If like church had just been this like you kind of just didn't want to deal with it, like why go so far as to
yeah.
actually remove your
Well, see,
records?
I've questioned that a lot too. Um, and to be honest, I can't really give you a reason. Like it was, it like I never even, and the thing that's crazy is before I left for my mission, I never even understood the process of like records. Like we have records in the church, and you can remove your records from the church, and so the fact that the thought popped into my head where like should have was kind of strange to look back on because I was like, how did I get that idea? It was
Hmm.
kind of weird to me. And it was fresh off of, I would say there were two really great influences that I had that kind of kept me tied to the church. My father, my dad does a great job of just like, he's very passionate about the gospel, but he's very soft spoken about it as well. Like I said, he never really pressured me into anything. And
But
it
you have
made
your
me feel
agency.
comfortable. Right, exactly. It made me feel comfortable coming up to him about, and it also made me feel comfortable walking away. I knew that he was still like he wasn't gonna just shut me out or anything. Um, and then my grandfather as well, and he passed away about 6 months before, 6 or 7 months before I left for my mission, and it was like I think 2 weeks after his funeral where I told my parents I was just like I'm done. Like there goes my last tie. Like I'm removing my records from the church.
Then and then what? Like had and then
And
a few months later you're
a few
a
months
full
later, I'm filling
180.
out.
Yeah.
Um, See, that was also kind of a tough thing to look back on in retrospect. There was definitely some sort of war going on in my mind that
Yeah.
didn't fully understand. Um, but I think logically, the only reason that I had to go out on my mission, or I'd say two reasons probably. So the first one, the chance to like leave and just like experience
Way.
a different place outside of Utah. I was hoping outside of the country. I really wanted to serve in Japan or Korea. Um, and but Philadelphia was amazing. I'll just reiterate that it was everything I needed. But I needed to leave, and I knew that. I knew that I just like I couldn't stay
Stagnant.
stagnant, right? There was always a part of me that like I said, I always ask questions. I wanted to have those answers too. And at the time of me deciding I wanted to go on a mission, I think that person, that version of myself was just a little bit more expressive and decided to come out and be like, "Hey, let's leave and just figure some stuff out for a second." Um, like what else do you really have to lose? I mean, 2 years, 2 years to a lot of people is a long time, but it's not, it's not long at all, especially when we're
Yeah.
this young. Like, what else are you gonna do? You're wasting your time no matter what. Like, just have fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's a whole decade of figuring it out.
right, exactly. And then the second thing as well, I so I'm a writer, and I've been working on this fiction series, like this fantasy series. I got to tell you, it's crazy elaborate. I've got 9 books planned. I was like, the mission's going to give me a great opportunity to meet a ton of people, and I could implement their personalities and all of their little quirks into characters in my book. So at the very least, I could study people and apply that to my writing. But other than that, there was definitely no religious reason for me to leave at the time, and that changed obviously over time as I learned. But it was definitely
For
not
the
my
mission, it
initial
changed, or on
purpose.
the mission?
Um, Definitely on the mission because it's progressive, right? Like you keep learning.
Yeah.
Before the mission, I struggled with a lot still. I walked
Doctrinally.
in right doctrinally. I didn't understand anything. I didn't know anything about like Joseph Smith or anything like that until at home MTC. Well, not even really at home MTC. I did not pay attention at all during at home MTC. I would say the moment God really connected, like came into the picture and was like, "This is my purpose for you, and this is why I need you to start like locking in, like get your act together a little bit." Um, it was my first day of at home MTC, and I had just a terrible day. I was like, I don't understand anything. I tried paying attention. Online classes in general are really rough for me,
Yeah.
and online classes about religion, which I was not at all interested in, just killed me. And I felt lost. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna leave all of my closest friends for 2 years for essentially no reason. Like, what am I doing? And like we got through those classes for the day. I don't even remember anything about them. And I could not fall asleep. Like it was I laid in bed for probably until like 12 to 1 o'clock. And I'm just like, I'm wide awake. Like I'm not going to sleep. So I get up and I go outside to my backyard, and that's just like the darkest thoughts just pop into your head. Um, it's like really those times where like you know you're questioning everything, that it's so easy to accept all of the darkness that kind of comes towards you at that time. And I used to be a very pessimistic person, so focusing on that darkness was really easy for me. Like it was always easy for me to downplay the good parts of my life because um I guess the darkness was just brighter somehow.
So
Um
like you're like in such a place where you're so lost that you're like first you're like I need to get out of here. So what
yeah,
how do I get out of here? I can go on a mission
right,
even though I have no idea what this is really about, but I'm
right.
so lost that I may as well do it. Not
Hmm.
because I want to, but because
Yeah.
it's a good way to get out. And then you start MTC. I'm guessing it's home MTC. Were you in home MTC the whole time? Like, was it COVID era kind of
I
still?
had half.
Okay, you'd have.
So, yeah.
So first day,
So
and then
split.
so you're literally just. What would you say it was just like a sense of being lost, like
Yeah.
like lost,
And
and it's a lot easier to go down a further dark hole when you're already partially lost, like
yeah.
than to do the work to climb out of the hole. It's just easier to just
Yeah.
sit in the hole or dig it even deeper.
Right. And I was angry too. I was prideful, and it felt like I was making sacrifices that weren't really worth um the outcome.
Mm.
Because I remember there were a few friends in particular who reached out to me like after at home MTC, or not after, but before at home MTC, like right before I left. And um one of them in particular was just a sucker punch. I still remember exactly what the text was. She was one of my best friends in high school, and so we had been friends for years. Like we knew a lot about each other, and we hung out all the time. And she was also a member, and so this made the text just even more of a heavy hitter. But she just out of the blue, like she texted me, and she's just like, um, she's like, okay, maybe I don't remember exactly what the text was. She's like, it was something along the lines of like, um, I don't think I can support you going out on a mission. And then it was the part that I do remember was, like, I'm not gonna text you ever again. Don't text me, like, don't reach out to me while you're on the mission. Don't reach out to me when you come back. And
That was out of the blue.
that one, yeah, that one really hurt.
Yeah.
Um, and so first night after online MTC, I'm thinking just like I just let go of one of the most valued friendships that I've ever had. Um,
for seemingly no reason at the time.
for seemingly no reason. And um, those dark thoughts just get louder and louder and louder. And um, I start thinking of like a way out. Um, and there was a moment after that where I was like, it was the first time I had really said like a vocal prayer, possibly ever, unless you count like obviously like family dinner or something like that, where
Like an actual
uh,
desperate, I want to communicate with my God.
right, exactly, where I just kind of sat down and I just prayed. I was like, I need you to send me somebody in 15 minutes, and if you do, then I'll stay. But I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be here. And
Like, and just to clarify, do you mean like you wanted a way out, like you wanted to be done living, or just with the mission? Just
yeah,
I know that. Yeah, I just
uh,
that's a lot. That's a lot. Like
yeah,
I appreciate you saying that. That's
yeah.
heavy stuff, but
And 15 minutes go by, and well, I'll say 14 minutes go by, and nothing. It's dead silent. And then finally, like that last minute, it's literally like it's probably down to the second, and it was just like the craziest timing. I get a text from one of my friends, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I hope I'm not too late." She's just like, "I wanted to say goodbye before like you left," and then she's like, "I also just felt like I had to text you like right this second." And she's not a member, she's not religious at all. And so I was just like, all right, that's a definitive sign, I think. I can't really
dude,
question
I
that
just
one.
got the chills. Yeah, like the spirit's here.
um but it even after that, like I was so prideful. It didn't bring me any comfort. It was enough to get me to go inside. um
It was an answer to the prayer, but it wasn't an
right,
answer to everything. Yeah,
right, exactly. It was enough to get me inside, and I laid in bed probably until past like 3 o'clock. The last time I checked my phone, it had hit 3 o'clock, and that was so around that time I went back to bed. Finally fell asleep. And I woke up the next morning and I still felt it. Gosh, it was so crazy. Like even sleeping it off, like it doesn't take those thoughts away. You still
yeah,
have to carry the burden. Um, and it was such an incredible experience. Um, I sit up and my first thought is I feel awful. And then in just like a split second, for just a moment, I felt completely weightless. And it's one of those times where you hear it. It's not like a feeling or like a thought in your head. Like it's there, and it's just like right next to you. And like I knew I was alone in my room, but um
like an
it was just
overwhelming.
the voice,
Like you felt the spirit overwhelmingly, like
right, to the
inexplicably.
point where I could hear it. And I still remember it was just this really comforting voice, and he said, "You felt that emotion and it brought you to such a dark place last night." And it said, "You felt that emotion for years. You felt that before. You know what it's like to experience that. And there are hundreds of people who are experiencing that every single day of their lives. And they need your help because you know how to get out of it, but they don't." And that was kind of it was still obviously there's still a lot of things you need to learn, but it gave me that final push, and I realized like my choice to serve a mission affects not just me. Like it wasn't just about meeting people for my books or trying to get out of the house for a couple of years to try to find out what my life should be. Like my mission, and I learned this, like you become a witness of it later. My mission affected so many people.
I mean, dude, when you were saying that, like literally, like I felt the spirit, like confirmed to me what you were saying was true. Like I just totally felt the spirit, and it's almost like God, hey, here's your purpose. This is your why. This is what the sacrifice is for. And I mean, there's a principle. I don't know if it's a book or a short story, but it talks about the wounded healer, and it's just about. I mean, it's essentially not essentially. It is who Christ is. It's Christ is the wounded healer. He knows how to succor us because he experienced it all. So, I mean, how did that transform the rest of home MTC? And then when you got back on your mission, now not, like feeling like, oh, here's this light that I've not felt before, and it knows exactly that I have been in this darkness and that I'm able to help people. Like, how transformational was that for you?
It was powerful for sure. Um, I still don't remember a whole lot of online MTC. I remember obviously we had like helping others and stuff like that. I don't know if you called it that, but it was basically like those fake lessons that you teach to
Okay, yeah,
people who are, yeah. Um, and it was really funny because my MTC companion, Elder Davis, was just such a kind-hearted person. He's very optimistic, always had a smile, like the complete opposite of where I was at the beginning of my mission,
exactly who
and
you
was
needed.
everything that I needed.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, and we walk away from that first, I guess, like lesson, and we're talking to each other over Zoom or whatever, and he says, "Elder, I think we struggled with that a lot." And I was like, "Yeah, that was pretty bad." And then we show up to online or in-person MTC about half a week later, and one of our teachers, while in the middle of a lesson, one of our teachers comes up and puts our lesson on the projector and is like, "This is an example of what you guys should be teaching like." And so,
wow.
despite the fact that we thought we had absolutely butchered it, we had this really amazing experience where it turned out it was very spirit guided, and we were told that a few other teachers had been using our lesson as well to help teach other missionaries. And so just kind of like a wild lesson in learning like the spirit is going to guide you even when you feel weak.
Oh, dude, that's way cool. So then after MTC, you obviously get out to Philadelphia, and I mean, like, what's that
Hmm.
like? What I mean, where's your relationship with God at this point? Like, obviously, you've had some spiritual experiences. You probably learned a
Yeah,
little bit more of Joseph Smith and church history,
a little
doctrine.
bit. Yeah,
Like,
the
were
good and the
you
bad.
were you wanting to pray to God, and did you feel like you had a relationship with Him at this point, even if it was just the beginning? I mean, did you get there
Definitely.
and you were like, I'm supposed to tell people about this? Like, I don't know enough. Or had that experience in MJC been like, oh, the spirit, this is all about the spirit. This has nothing to do with me. I'm just here to help.
Hmm. Well, so I'd say it's a little bit of both, because obviously with that prompting that I received after online MTC, like it is our experiences that help drive the work forward. And so I knew that like me being there, like I had the experience I needed because the spirit told me, and I don't know, that was the first thing where it was really easy for me to just trust in. Like I knew that was why I was out there. But at the same time, you're completely clueless. I had a lot of strange experiences. First off, I should say like the rest of my time in the MTC was just wild. I woke up one morning and as we're walking to like breakfast after we've gotten ready for the day, my neck just pops and I completely tore the back muscle. And I go to the doctor and he just says, "Oh, you're just stressed." And he's just like, "Yeah, you're probably just learning a lot." That was it.
Your body
And so
knows.
my body, yeah, my body could keep up with the I guess mental stress that I was dealing with, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
It's amazing what like you learn in the MTC and how easy it is for you to pick it up. but you never
Hmm.
realize like oh, what's the word? You keep all of it. It's really cool.
It's like actually
And I did
changing you.
have, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I did have a crazy experience, just spiritual, where we just talked like as a district, and it was such a blessing to like. We had some ups and downs, and so it was great to kind of have that connection one last time before we all left, and then the next morning, one of the companionships was out, and then one by one we all just left. And I don't know. You served a mission, right?
Yeah, I served a service mission. So I
Oh
never
yeah,
went to
yeah,
the
yeah.
MTC, so I'm definitely
Okay.
not the most knowledgeable about that, but yeah.
Um, so it's kind of an interesting experience going from the MTC to the airport and onward.
I can
We woke up
imagine.
at 2:30, and first thing in the morning, I'm just hearing elders, not me and my companion, because we got along really well, but two other elders just argue. And they argued the entire trip there for hours. And I'm just like, how do you have the energy for this? It's 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Um, and finally, like we get on the plane. It's um like we had some cool experiences. I met somebody, talked to her about the church, and she's like, "Oh, my husband is a member, but I haven't been." And I was like, "Oh, you should talk to him." And that was kind of it. Because you don't really know how to teach still. Like you have the knowledge, but you don't have the social
Learning.
stamina, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we get off the plane and run down all the like mission stuff. Next morning, um, our mission president takes us out to Center City, Philadelphia, um, and basically just he's just like have fun. He's just like the temple. He doesn't even really give us like a full direction. He just points. He points. He says the temple is that way. We're gonna meet there in 3 hours.
It is day
And he
one.
just says good luck, and then he gets back on the bus and they drive off. Um, and so my companion, he's pretty new into the mission. My trainer, Elder Garrett, he's just such a blessing. Um, he was a very patient person to deal with a very prideful trainee, and um, sometimes I let that get the best of me. But I'm very grateful for him. He was exactly what I needed. Just very kind, and we're both aimless. Like I'll say as well, it's 104 degrees. It's 100% humidity. I run out of my water in like the first 10 minutes, and by the end of the 3 hours, I just have a blaring headache. And I'm like, what am I doing out here? But at the same time, like I'm having fun. Like me and my companion, I would say we both kind of struggled to just teach openly, like bring up the gospel directly. And so I just figured I would just start talking to people. And so I talked to this guy. I remember just on like the side of the street, and we just talked about like guns. And I don't know anything about guns, but he's very passionate about his guns. And so
That's
I
what I
was
want to
just
talk
like, all
about.
right, let's yeah. And I was like, sure, just don't shoot me. And and that was really it. I got to know the city a little bit better. Um, but it was very like, wow, this is wild. Like this is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
And I one more experience after all of that happened. I got sent up to my first area, which is a smaller town called Pottsville. And I don't know if you've ever heard, Pennsylvania has kind of uh, a stereotype about it. People say that it has a 1-to-1 ratio of bars and churches. And in Pottsville, that might be a statistical fact. I think I think that's true. People love to drink there, and um, it was a great area. But I remember the first time we're knocking doors, and it's the very first door that I knock. My companion, my trainer, Elder Garrett, he goes, "All right, Elder, it's your turn. You've seen me knock 5 doors. Go for it." And I go up to this little townhome, and I knock on the door, and this lady opens it. And I think it was in part because she was ignoring us, but it was at like her eyes didn't even focus. and she was definitely high, like very much not in the best mindset. She was uh I'll just spoil it for everybody. She was probably snorting crack. um, and just dazed out of her mind. She opens the door, she takes a couple steps out, and like it's like we're not even there. Like I had to move in order for her to like step out of her townhome. And then she like peers over her like railings and then looks around as if like she's looking for the person who knocked. And then she goes back inside and closes the door. And that was it. That was my first door ever. And so I was just like, oh my goodness, like, what the heck am I doing
I'm
here,
like,
man?
yeah.
This is crazy.
So, did you do you have some experiences that you feel comfortable sharing where you were, you felt like, what the spirit whispered to you, you were actually able to be that person that those people in the darkness needed?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I had a few. Um, at the very beginning of my mission, there was an older, he was a recent convert that had, after a year, so I guess not super recent, he had gone inactive, and his name was Ken. We loved Ken. He's a very short man, kind of very much like a, you've seen Lord of the Rings. He's very dwarf like looking. And I don't mean that he didn't have like a disability or anything like that, but he very much presented himself like a dwarf from Lord of the Rings. And we
Big
would tease him
beard.
about it all the time. Oh, huge beard. And just very,
It's
he was
awesome.
shorter, just long hair. And he had gotten back into smoking. And so very, and he was also very like dwarf pride kind of thing. Like that was just what the dwarves are known for in Lord of the Rings. And he very much like lived up to that.
Hmm.
And, but he was such a great guy. Like we'd go over once a week and we would teach him the gospel, and we would also listen to his crazy conspiracies about what eternity was going to be like. He believed things like we were going to live in a giant 1.5 or like 150 million mile square foot or cubed foot. Wait, not foot if it's mile. You know what I mean with this. Um, cubed mile like heaven, and it was just going to be placed on top of Earth like a little marble. Um, just these crazy conspiracies,
Yeah.
and we were just all for it. He was just such a fun person to talk to and listen to. But it was obvious he was struggling with a lot, and
But he believed.
he did very strongly. He was very passionate about it. He also had a group of Mennonites meeting with him every week, and he would openly bash with them about why we were the true church. And we were a little bit more subtle as
Yeah.
missionaries,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
as fresh missionaries.
Yeah.
Um, so we needed Ken on our side. And when I left that area, we had grown like such a strong bond together, which is why I feel like I'm teasing him on record, but he's such a great friend to me. And um, we had grown super close. And I remember one of the last conversations we had, he just said, "You just don't act like the rest of them." And I had learned a little bit of humility by then, so it was hard for me to just say like, "Oh, I'm different from other missionaries," and I still don't really think I am or I was, but the opportunity that I was, or the understanding that I had been given from the Spirit to use my personal experiences instead of just using the doctrine, I think gave me some leverage when it came to helping people who were struggling with similar things, even if their lives were, I mean, Ken was in a rough situation. I won't even try to downplay myself to say that I had been in situations that he had been in, but I was able to relate what I had been through to what he was going through at the time, and that helped us a lot.
So it was just your, obviously spirit guided, but just your ability to connect with him just as a human, as another child of God
Right.
that, opened probably a lot of doors for him, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is there any other stories that you feel really stand out where that was a similar
Um,
case?
yeah, I would say um, kind of a similar experience. Very, so that's really close towards the end of my mission. I was serving in North Philly, and I don't know what you've heard about North Philly, but it exceeds all expectations of weird. Um, we spent a lot of time with really all of our time with people who were struggling, um, and whether it was like financial, everybody was struggling financially there, but whether they were struggling like financially or just with any situation they might be in or spiritually, um, we would always at least lend them a conversation, lend them an ear to just listen. And and this was actually another recent convert. He had just been baptized right before I got transferred into the area. His name's Sabion, and um, he just had like such a strong testimony that he knew that God had a path for him. And so when he ran into the missionaries, and the missionaries not only like furthered that point by saying he has a plan for you, they also said, here's how you can see that path and know for yourself, like know the steps that you're taking instead of just walking blindly and hoping that that path is going to lead you somewhere good. And so he was all for it. He loved the gospel. And when I got transferred into the area, it was very similar to with Ken. We would meet with Sabion once a week for Bible study, or usually reading through the Book of Mormon. And um, he would always just have these questions or talk about like his past experiences. And I think it was the fact that he had actively made the change, that the same change that I had made 2 years ago, at that time, almost 2 years ago at that time, to follow the gospel, that we were able to relate to each other so much because for him it was so recent, and for me it it even if it wasn't as recent, it still had felt like yesterday because the mission just flies.
Yeah.
And um, Sabion and I had been really close, and just having that connection, that brotherhood from somebody entirely across the country was astounding, and it was a witness to both of us that like God not only has a path for us, and not only does He allow us to see that path through His restored gospel, but He also provides other people to catch glimpses of our path and to experience that for themselves, so that we can know that there is somebody out there, that there is something out there that's helping us learn and grow. And I learned very, very promptly from him that really the only proof that we have of God is through other people. The scriptures are written by prophets who are people. We have modern day prophets who are people. And we believe in a restored gospel with a restored priesthood that is offered to people so that these same people can receive a witness for themselves that God is theirs, or we are God's children.
Yeah. No, dude, I think that's so powerful. I think we truly like, the second great commandment is love thy neighbor as thyself. And when we're doing that, we show God that we love him. Just the first great commandment. And I think that we really do have this beautiful opportunity to be his hands, actually his hands. And I mean, I like in my life, I've found that, you know, like you said, like when you said that prayer to God and said, I need someone in 15 minutes, and God showed up as a person. Like I think that has happened so many times in my life where people have come in right at the exact moment where I knew there's no way that this person could have ever known what I was going through. And I think we have the ability to be disciples and to be those people for other people, which is I think is what you're talking about on your mission, is that you were able to be his hands because you had seen his hands, other people had been his hands for you. Um,
Yeah.
so what by the end of your mission, where was your relationship with God? Do you feel like you were a completely changed person? And
Oh, absolutely. Um, it's always really incredible when like you can look back on the person that you were, and I think the mission is really there is no better place to be able to do that. Because even though 2 years is a long time for a lot of people, like I said before, it's not nearly long enough, and it goes by in two blinks,
yeah,
and suddenly you're a changed person, um, and everybody sees you differently too. Um, I remember, so I talked about this a little bit ago, but I was a very like negative person. I was very quick to look at like the downside and to just focus on everything that had gone wrong or everything that could even just like possibly go wrong. I was always quick to expect it. And at one point in my mission, I had a companion. This was about halfway through, and I felt like I had been doing such a good job at becoming so much more optimistic and trying to like look at the bright side. But I had a companion who really just humbled me. And he's such a blessing. He was so fun. Um, but he was like, we were having a comp inventory, and he looked to me and he's like, Elder, you can be really negative sometimes. I was like, dang, like I was working on it so hard. Um, and I from that moment on I started brainstorming some ideas, and I came up with the an idea that I'm still going on. I'm still keeping up with today, where every hour in the day I have an alarm set. And on that hour, I have to say something out loud. Like it has to be verbal. I can't just say it internally because that's cheating. It doesn't count. Um, I have to say something out loud what I'm grateful for. And that was such a huge like factor into changing like my mentality of being super negative all the time and always looking at the downside to like noticing that even when we're suffering, like even when like we've been bashed like 6 times that day and like spit on, people have like tried tripping us or something like that. There's always been some reason for me to be grateful for. Um,
I
and
mean,
that
that's
optimism, go ahead.
I was just say there's the quote. I mean, about trip by President Nelson that says like the joy we feel in life has little to do with our circumstances and everything to do with our focus. I think that's like
Yeah,
literally you're applying that every hour, which is amazing.
yeah,
It's it is just all about focus.
yeah.
No, dude, that's so sick. Um, well, bro, my brain is blanking. Um, what do you feel? I mean, do you feel like you are a positive person today? Like, do you think that and do you give that credit to Christ? Like, do you feel like you found Christ
Oh,
on your
absolutely.
mission and
Yeah.
he is the reason? I mean, do you still experience the darkness at times
Oh,
today?
of course.
And what do you
Um,
do when that comes back?
so I'll say it's a lot easier to counter when it comes back. Um, and I kept telling myself like I was so naive, and I don't particularly think I was wrong for thinking it, but um, I like remember at the end of my mission, I was just like, okay, like I've got all of these habits that are just gonna keep me focused, keep me like happy, and I'll be able to focus on that peace of mind all the time, no matter what comes my way. Um, but I think we also have to remember, like I said earlier, there's always kind of an internal battle going on inside of our head. It's part of the test. You can't have that joy all of the time. Otherwise you I mean it's a little like paradoxical, but you wouldn't have it. You wouldn't
Opposite
understand it. You wouldn't
things.
right. You
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to actually feel it if you didn't feel the other side as well. And so um I I had a lot of challenges come my way for sure. This summer was particularly rough. It was really just like one punch after the next.
Which
Um,
is about a year after your mission, right?
right. Yeah. Um, and it really like it was just I was working 3 jobs. I made the mistake of doing a summer semester, and it was a lot. It was 5 classes. Um,
Yeah.
I had family issues, issues with friends. At the beginning of the summer, I was dating this girl, and it was the first time I really was like, man, I have feelings for a girl, which is crazy. I'd never felt feelings like that with anybody before. And we called things off. And I won't get into that one,
Yeah.
but um, it was you just two people make two stupid mistakes, and that's it. And they weren't bad mistakes, but it was like it was enough, I guess.
Hmm.
And so, like, there's all of these things that are weighing down on you, but I kept my gratitude alarms going. And I remember specifically one of the rules that I set, because that same companion who I set the goal with, Elder Broadbent, there was this one time we were driving on the road and some guy cut us off, and I was like, man, I just love really bad drivers. And he's like, I don't think you should count sarcasm. And I made the exception. I was like, I can count sarcasm if I can find a reason to actually justify it and make it not sarcastic. And so if I say something, if I say that I'm grateful for something sarcastically, then I have to be like, here's why I would actually be grateful for it. And I think that's helped me. That helped me a lot over the summer because it forces you to look at bad things from a very positive aspect. Um, and you kind of learn for yourself that even though, like I just said, it's a bad thing. Like bad things happen. Um, none of it is actually for like a bad reason because you can always react to it in a good way. And so every challenge that I had just faced with this summer, that I was just faced with this summer, I realized like it doesn't matter what's happening to me because these things are out of my control, but I can 100% always retaliate and roll with the punches. And if I get hit, then I'll just absorb the blow, try to throw a stronger one at my opponent, and just keep going until I can't anymore. And I haven't, I haven't lost yet.
Well, and then I think luckily you have a pretty good teammate, I would say, who makes all of that up and in Jesus. And
Oh, absolutely.
um to wrap up, I just want to ask, I kind of ask the same question at the end of every time and just want to give you an
Hmm.
opportunity to bear your testimony as well if you would like. But what would you say, I mean, through the darkness, through everything, like what have you learned about Jesus Christ through it all?
One of my favorite studies that I have, I guess, undertaken is uh, kind of the connection of um, like us as children of God and the depiction that Jesus Christ is always been really good with children, with kids. He's always depicted as such a kind and loving hand. And one thing that I've learned is that the atonement of Jesus Christ allows us to be children, even as adults. When you think about it, kids are always like they're always quick to get back up on their feet. Sure, they'll cry for just a couple of minutes and then suddenly they're ready to get going again. Um, they make mistakes. Gosh, they make so many mistakes. Um, but we don't really ever stop making mistakes when we become an adult. We're just expected to not anymore. And I think for a lot of people, it can weigh on them and it can hold them back because for years I felt not regret, but I did feel some sort of guilt for the things that I had done in the past. Even though I had come to accept that they were lessons to learn, it's a very emotional thing where you just hold a grudge against yourself. And you can be quick to forgive others because you see them through the light of Christ, which is such a powerful thing. Like you see the change that can be wrought upon them because Jesus Christ sacrificed everything so that they could have that. And for some reason, and it's so hard for, I think, most of us to see that light within ourselves and to think that we deserve it. Um, but it doesn't work that way. Like I said on my mission, Jesus Christ bled from every pore, so we should sweat from every pore to make sure that we're fulfilling his work on this earth. Um, and it doesn't always work out that way. Like sometimes we're not breaking a sweat. Sometimes we're not even moving. Um, and in those times where we fall short, I think that's where the atonement really like kicks in. And in the same case of opposition and all things, we sort of need those experiences, those bad experiences, quote unquote, to help us realize that perfection is just right around the corner when we overcome those mistakes through Jesus Christ. I've learned very personally that growth is not possible without the gospel of Jesus Christ. And people that believe that they can grow and come up with ideas that they can grow, all of those ideas are found in the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it's only when you accept that and start living those principles that you see those ideas in significantly more detail. Um, I'll say you can live without the gospel and you can change as a person, but you can't live without the gospel and become perfected. I'm kind of butchering this, but without Jesus Christ, like it's all pointless. And it is through him that not only can we return to heaven, but we can see those glimpses of heaven here on earth through our own experiences and through our growth.
It's beautiful. It's yeah, dude. I mean, thank you for saying that. I mean, I for one, for sure struggle with perfectionism, and definitely needed to hear some of the things you were saying about it isn't about, you know, killing ourselves by trying to perfect ourselves here. It's about, yeah, for sure, you got to try, you got to live the gospel, but he's got it. I mean, like Brad Wilcox says,
Yeah,
is his grace is sufficient because it's not, he doesn't make up the difference, he makes all the difference. So it's not this,
I love that quote so much.
yeah, it's not this race that we need to run as fast as possible, but it's like, no, we have a perfectly loving brother who is running it with us and
Right,
supporting us completely.
exactly. And if I could say, even going back to that like child analogy, like those times where you trip and you stumble, cut your knee open and want to quit, like you're just a kid. And like I'm an adult now, but I'm not really. Like I this is my first time going
Yeah.
through this mortal experience. And so I'm experiencing things as a child of God, as his child, as a child. And I have a savior who has experienced it all for me so that in the times that I fall short, I can get back up on my feet. But I've learned that I have to allow myself to do that. I have to be the one to stand up. And he'll
Reach
be
out to
there every
him.
step of the way. Exactly. And when you do, like you'll realize you're running before you even stood back up. It's crazy. Just like he's carrying us so far. We just have to accept it and realize that we're not going to be perfect. It's not part of the plan.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's literally a perfect place to end it. And I think I'll just say that when, they just, as President Oaks just became the prophet of our church, he was being interviewed. And I don't know if you've seen this video, but the reporter asked him, like, what else do you want us to know? And he just said, Jesus Christ is the way. And I think a really good way of
Absolutely.
summarizing what you've been saying. And I just want to just say thank you for being so open and vulnerable and sharing the light that you've found through the darkness. Because that's the thing that's powerful, and we need more of that. And I think the more that we're all able to be like you were, a light in darkness, to help others find that light, because all that we can be is a reflection of the Savior's light. That light is his, and all that we can do is bring it to those places that are dark. So thank you so much, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for
Okay.
having me.
Yeah, dude. Of course. Okay. Peace, y'all. I'm gonna try to be more consistent, but I appreciate everyone who's listening, and I appreciate most of all Jonah for being on here.
Thank you.
Okay. Peace, guys.
See ya.
Dude.